Hello everyone, welcome to Scandia, stories of a toxicologist living in Scandinavia. My name is Sveta and today I'm going to tell you how I have found my job in Norway, and we will going to talk a bit about working life in Norway, where I live at the moment. If you are interested in this topic, please continue watching this video. For those of you who don't know me, I have quite a complicated life and work story. In 2011, I moved from Russia to Finland and started a new chapter of my life, studying a totally new area. Then I worked for several years, and then I moved to Sweden in 2020 to study to be a toxicologist. In 2022, I moved to Norway, where I live now, and first I finished my studies doing this semester abroad, and then started my job in Norway, and I have been working here for 2 years. I get a lot of questions about how to find a job in Norway, in Scandinavia, in Europe, in any of those countries. I am originally from Russia, so I get a lot of these questions on my Russian channel. Yes, I have a Russian channel which is called Social Biomedia. This is a bit frustrating question because there is no good answer to that, and the answer is very long and complicated. So in this video I am going to answer you who are trying to find a job from outside Norway, maybe not even living in Europe, and also those who are already here and maybe just trying to send CVs to different companies and find a place to work. So first of all, who has the right to work in Norway? Yes, you cannot just come here from outside of Europe and start working and then stay here. It's a bit more complicated. So there are two groups of people who have the right to work here in Norway by default. First of all, citizens of Norway and European Union, or EU, EEA countries. These are countries of European Union, although Norway is not in European Union, plus Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, maybe some other countries. So if you belong to this group, you have this so-called European mobility, so you can move to any European country and start working there without many restrictions. Another group that has right to work in Norway is those who are already here and have residence permit on other grounds. It can be on family grounds, as a student, or someone who has just finished studies in Norway and is looking for a job. Usually they have some period of time where they can look for a job and have a right to work. Other people can also find a job and work in Norway, but it is a bit more difficult. If someone is employed by Norwegian company, someone who doesn't belong to these two groups that I mentioned before, employer has to start a very complex and difficult bureaucratic process to legally prove that they could not find anyone who could do this job who is already in Norway. So a citizen of Norway or someone staying here with residence permit. So this is something that the government requires of Norwegian employers, and this also is true for the most of European countries. So they have to legally prove to the government, to the state, that there is absolutely no one who is already staying in the country on legal grounds who can do this same job. There is an exception from this rule. People working in academic field, doing research or sometimes even teaching in universities, usually exempt from this process. So the employer can just hire anybody from anywhere in the world, and they can just come to Norway and start working, of course applying to residence permit and everything, but they don't have to go through this process of proving to government that there is no one else in Norway who can do this job. So this is only academic field. You would ask me, why would anyone want to hire somebody from outside Europe if it's so complicated, if it's so difficult, if you have to prove something to someone? There are two situations, I would say, when this would happen. First of all, not all Norwegian employers, especially if it's a small company, are aware of this rule. So sometimes they would hire someone being completely unaware of what they have to do after that. When they finally realize that they have this problem, then they can choose either to withdraw the offer, so don't hire this person, or if for some reason they decide to go forward with this, they have to go through this process. I know at least of one situation where the employer was not aware, and then they hired a person out from outside Europe, and then they were worried that this would be discrimination by nationality if they wouldn't hire this person in the end. So they had to go through this process. I would say in practice, employers shouldn't be that worried about that, because almost no one who is from outside European Union has an opportunity to go to court and legally complain that they are subject to discrimination, to go through all this process. That wouldn't probably really happen, but some of the employers might be concerned of that. So there is a little hope that you would find someone who's not aware of these rules in Norway. Then they would be facing this dilemma and they would choose to go forward with employment. Another group of employers are those companies that are completely aware of this rule, but there is a certain shortage of skilled workers on Norwegian market, so they really cannot find anybody to do this job. Usually these workers are high skilled workers like IT specialists, engineers, some corporate management or whatever, and then employers are prepared and ready to go through this complex bureaucratic process and hire somebody from outside Europe. This process can take several months, and they are prepared to wait for the employee, for a new one, and they are really interested and motivated to hire that person from outside Europe so that they would go forward with this process. How to find a job in Norway. And I would talk mainly about my experience. I am a citizen of European Union, of Finland, so I didn't have any restrictions on my right to work, so this was not an issue. And when I was doing my semester abroad in Norway, I was preparing myself to be working after I finished my studies, so I had to actively seek for a job, and I actually searched for a job anywhere in Europe, anywhere in my field, toxicology. So I applied to different companies in different countries, and I only applied to one company in Norway actually, and I finally got that job, even in the same city I was living before, in Bergen. Now I live in Oslo, but working for the same company. And how do you apply for a job? You should use search engines such as Glassdoor.com, for example, which I used for jobs around Europe. There are also Norwegian ones like Finn.no. After you have found a position that interests you, you of course have to have a CV to send to them. I usually use Europass CV generator. It's very easy to make a good-looking CV there, but CV is not enough. You have to have like a cover letter or like motivation letter. It's a one-page letter where you would explain why you want to have this position, and this letter should be kind of individual for every position you apply to. It doesn't mean you have to write it from the scratch all the time. You only need to have a template and then change some things in there. This letter usually consists of several parts, at least how I did it. First one would be like introduction, very briefly about yourself and why you want this position. Second one would be about why you want to work in this particular company, and for this you should research a bit what company is that and what values they have, and then tell them in the letter why you are agreeing with these values and why they suit you. Then next chapter would be about the position, why you want this particular position, what interests you. The next fourth chapter would be about yourself, how you could contribute to this team, to this company, and how are you suitable to do this particular job? And last part will be a bit informal, telling about yourself, about your hobbies, just a couple of sentences, something that would show yourself as a person. Recommendations are also very important in Norway, so you should have at least 2 people who could recommend you, someone you could put in your CV as contact persons, recommendation persons. Usually they would need a phone number so that they could call them and talk about you, how good a worker you are. It doesn't have to be your previous boss or something. It can be your teacher from university or someone you were involved doing some work, and this would be enough, usually 2 or 3 recommendations. Norwegian language is often not a requirement, especially if you are a high-skilled worker working in some technical IT field. Usually English is enough, but English is actually requirement quite often in all these big companies. You usually have to speak English fluently. But of course, Norwegian would be a benefit. Sometimes it is a requirement depending on what you are doing. If you have to work with customers, with people, talking with locals, of course, Norwegian is required, but often it's listed as just a benefit. But I should warn you that if you are going to deal with Norwegian team, you're going to be the only foreigner. They would very much encourage you to learn Norwegian in the future. So this would definitely be a plus if you know at least some. So for me, I applied only to one position in a big company, and I was not even aware of what the company is doing. Only like in general. I got 2 interviews. One was very short one, like 15 minutes on the phone with the HR person, and the second one was more fundamental with one HR person and a couple of specialists that I would work in the future with. And the second interview was hour and a half, so it was quite a long talk. And the whole process of applying, interviewing, it lasted about 3 months, so it's not quick, especially in big companies. And when I got an offer, I was asked when I could start, and since I was a student, I could start after I finished my master's degree. But usually they are prepared to wait for up to 3 months, because 3 months is often notice period in Norwegian companies. Final part of my video is how is it to work in Norway, in Norwegian company. And I should say my company is considered quite good among all the Norwegian companies, one of the best employers. So my experience is quite good. But I think that in Norway and in Scandinavia, it's usually quite good working conditions, so you shouldn't be prepared to something horrible. Usually it's very nice people around you and very good working culture. But speaking about details, it's 7.5 hours of work per day, 5 days a week, at least for me. If you're doing some shift work, of course, it's a bit different, but the hours would be the same, or you will be compensated for extra hours. And I get 25 working days off in a year, and I would get more if I work longer in the company. The model that we have is a hybrid model, so I can work partially from the office and partially from home. In my position, it's max 2 days from home per week, but it is quite flexible. I just have to agree with my manager. If I need to work from home the whole week, it's possible. There are restrictions for working from abroad. I cannot do that. I always have to work from Norway, even when I'm home. And this is something that might apply to many Norwegian companies, because there are some tax issues they don't want to deal with. Nature of work is quite independent. Of course, I have to collaborate a lot with people, but I have control over what I'm doing, and I can, to some extent, decide myself what I'm doing this day and that day. And there is some soft control from management. They are not strictly following what I'm doing, but they are like interested in the progress, and we have regular talks, meetings, and this kind of stuff. But I would say that in general the work is quite independent in my case. There are good benefits like health insurance, travel insurance, we have gyms and this kind of stuff. And the salary, of course, it's quite well known that Norwegian companies have good salaries, but of course Norway is also very expensive. Speaking about the salaries, I would say that usually it's enough to have a decent quality of life, but if you want to really make a lot of money and save money, you shouldn't work in Norway. You should work somewhere where taxes are lower and where everything is not that expensive. This would be my answer. Otherwise, working atmosphere is usually very healthy, very good. If it's not that good, they at least are trying to make it better. And the pace of work is quite relaxed, I should say, but I am the one who's working very fast usually if I need to. So for me it's quite relaxed, and if there is something that has to be done quickly, it is usually well organized, so you get time to do that. And it's only maybe a couple of times a year when I have to do something quickly, but it's not like normal style of working, at least in our company. I hope this video shed some light on working in Norway. I hope it answered some of your questions if you had these questions in your mind. And if there is something else you would like to know, just put it in the comment and I will try to answer. If you like this video, push the like button and the notification button if you want to get more videos from me in the future. And I wish you all good luck, stay healthy, stay happy, stay strong, and see you next time. Bye bye.